Welcome back to another episode. I am Sticks. This is my best friend and co-host D-Lo, and we are Too Complex. We got some really good topics for y'all today, but first I want to ask y'all to go ahead and hit that subscribe button because 95% of y'all are not subscribed. Hit that like button on the video and hit that notification bell so you don't miss none of these bangers that we drop every single week. But D-Lo, as we talk about, and we back, man. But D-Lo, as we talk about every week, man, how was your last week, bro? What you had going on?
I had nothing going on but watching Bron win this series with the Warriors.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? I'm on the East Coast, so I've been staying up too late watching him play every other night. Spending time with the family, the usual, spending time with family, incorporating this basketball series. Glad that the Lakers won and they were able to put away the Golden State Warriors. It was a little bit scarier series for me just because, the Warriors can get hot at any minute and just go on a tear with the threes and whatnot. So it was a little bit scary, but I'm glad the Lakers were able to pull it out. Glad Bron was able to pass Steph because the conversation of is Steph better than Bron, and then you got to deal with all that.
Bro.
Yeah, you got to deal with all that for the summer, and good to be on the good side of things.
For sure.
What about you?
Same as usual, same as last week and every week. Just trying to make sure I'm doing everything I can to make this next step in my career and making sure Sam is good. I've been, going hard at these coding books, dog. I've been going super hard
so far.
I'm liking it a lot so far, actually. We had a little orientation class that I had on Tuesday and Wednesday that I had to do for the class to start on tomorrow, actually. Oh no, Monday, actually. I'm still thinking we're recording on Sundays.
Right.
But it starts on Monday, so I had to do a little orientation, kind of an introduction to what the class is going to be, and it was fun, man. It was fun, and just going through this coding book and all the examples, I'm just doing it myself on the computer and making sure that I'm, refreshing myself from what I used to know back in computer science in college. So it's been a change, but I think I'm gonna love it, man. I think I'm gonna love it for sure.
And what language are you doing right now?
Right now, it's HTML and CSS. That's the first part of the class. Yeah. And then after that, it's gonna get into some JavaScript and stuff like that too. So, but that's later on after I finish the CSS and the HTML. So now I'm just refreshing on that. Of course, HTML is just it's pretty basic, but you get into it. You get into the root of what web design is, and then everything else just comes after that, making stuff look a little bit better. So it's gonna be dope, man. I like it a lot, bro. I like it a lot. I'm excited about it for sure. But talking about the series, though, luckily I'm on the West Coast, so my games come on at 7:00. So I'm chilling at about 9:30. I'm cool and I'm chilling. It's still early in the night for me, but I know it's 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. You watching the game, so
yeah. When it finishes, usually like 12:30.
Yeah, and then exactly.
Trying to get to bed, but I end up staying up watching something else.
Exactly. But so moving into some other, topics that we were going to talk about, man. What we got going on out here in the world of entertainment and sports, bro?
Man, in the world of entertainment and sports. So this week we found out Mr. Beast brought essentially a whole neighborhood in, surprisingly, North Carolina. I didn't know he was from North Carolina. This was new to me.
Yeah, man.
He brought a whole neighborhood for himself and for his family, friends, and his workers. What's your thoughts about that after reading and hearing about this?
I think it's actually pretty dope, man. I mean, that man got so much money, bro. I mean, it's like he a 25-year-old dude, 25-year-old man that's got just making crazy buku money off YouTube, and the fact that he just has literally money to throw away. I mean, not that he's throwing away the money with buying his family and his employees houses in Greenville, North Carolina, but the fact that he has been he paid for 1,000 people to get their blindness cured. Not too long ago, about 2-3 months ago. He's just been literally like just doing raffles and giving money away because he has so much just off of YouTube alone, sponsorships and stuff like that. Like from what I read, his net worth is like $53 million. Like
that's
for a 25-year, that's it. That's what I read. Net worth is like 53 million. Well, his accumulated net worth is $54 million. So
he must be high money somewhere.
Might be,
because I read that he is on path to be. So what you said the other day, you aren't far off.
I wasn't far off.
He's on path to be the first billionaire off the YouTube content creation platform.
Really?
That's what I read. So if
That's
there's,
dope.
I mean, but you know, those net worths and what's online is not always right.
Not always true. Not always factual.
So I said,
and this article was published on Tuesday. So so they say 54 million is what his accumulated net worth is. But the fact that he just throwing money away, like he got big off of a video where he literally sat there and counted to 100,000. From 1 to 100,000. Yeah, that was his first viral video. That video has over 10 million views on YouTube, or 28 million views on YouTube.
That's crazy.
So, I mean, I think it's dope that he did that, man. I mean, if I had the bread, I would buy myself a house. I'd buy you a house. I'd buy my family a house too. You feel me? If I had throwaway bread, I would buy you a house too, bro. So, like, I mean, I think it's dope. What you think?
Nah, I agree with you. I think it's pretty dope. I also think what is dope is he has the money to live a life of luxury and live a lavish life. And not saying that he doesn't, but looking at his house and the neighborhood that he stays in, or what we perceive to be his neighborhood, it's a real humble, you know, it's a nice little suburban house outside of Greenville, North Carolina. It's not anything crazy. He's not living on the West Coast with the sunset views and living on a hillside or anything like that. He's living in the what you would perceive as middle America nowhere, and you know, has a 3,000 square foot house that costs about $350,000, and he's done the same, insulated himself with surrounding everybody that he knows and loves surrounding him. So I think it's pretty cool that he's doing that, on top of all of the philanthropy that he does too, like you said earlier, that across the country. It's just the perception of him, just everything that you read and you see on YouTube, is he's just a genuinely good guy. And I think this story helps that perception of him.
Yeah, and he did get a little bit of backlash over the last like month or so about how he's just doing it for views or doing it for money and this and the third for YouTube. But you know, everybody's gonna have a negative perception of what you're doing with your own bread, which is kind of crazy. But if he's out here curing people's blindness and giving people who can't hear, deaf people, the sense of hearing again, like, bro, if you can do that, then why not do it, bro? That philanthropy is needed in the world, man, because the way the world is these days, man, it's crazy, bro.
100%. Why are people, I mean, now we're going to talk about doing something for views later on, not to get ahead of ourselves here. Title of the show. But if he's doing something positive, and if he is doing it for views and he's doing something positive, I don't see why he would get backlash for that. Whereas somebody does something like crashing a plane, and he said he was going to do it for views, I don't see too much backlash for that. So, I mean, the selective outrage these days is very real.
Outrage is crazy, bro. It's
very real, and I think people just want something to talk about because,
for sure,
you know, they want something to talk about.
That's a fact.
Anyway, what else we got this week that happened? And
man,
what else in the news?
Let's figure out what's going on with our boy Robert De Niro and having a newborn baby at the age of 78, 79 years old, bro. What you think about that, G?
Man, listen, I'm saying at 78 years old to still be running wild in the jungle is crazy to me.
Crazy.
78 and then just letting off. I mean,
shooting the club up, just
you know what I'm saying? Just this is like, if I was him, man, at 78, I'd have stopped trying that 20 years prior. Like, yeah, I'm done.
I'm out the game, G.
78, you chasing around a newborn. I mean, he rich. He probably hasn't chased a kid around in quite some time. He got nannies and stuff, but still, to have a kid at 78, we hope he lives for 20 years. You know, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But it's just, I mean, I just can't imagine being 78 and having a kid.
I couldn't either,
bro. I can't imagine being 65 having a kid. A newborn kid, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Just for that reason that you stated, bro. Like, how much longer am I gonna live to get these memories with my child? Like, I'm 79. Right. it's a newborn child. Like, am I gonna live to see my child graduate from high school? Am I gonna live to see him or her, go to her first prom, take her to college? Like, and if I do live to be that old, to be able to see that, am I gonna be mobile enough to help and do it? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
like,
right.
if I'm 79 now, by the time she graduate high school, or she graduate high school, I'll be 97. What I'm doing?
What I mean? Let alone he has 6 other kids before this child, and his oldest is 51. That dynamic gets kind of awkward because
crazy.
You have a child, a sibling that is 50 years younger than you. What is that interaction like? And I've seen it in action, not to that degree, but the interaction becomes awkward, especially if you, as the oldest, have a kid yourself that's younger, and then that kid, that's older than your sibling, then that kid has to call their aunt, who is well younger than them, auntie, uncle. It's like, yeah, that's my aunt, that's my uncle.
That's my aunt, that's my uncle. Yeah, and it's so crazy, bro. It's so crazy.
Yeah,
and like,
man,
it's so wild. But but does that bear the question? Because Sam about to be 16. So is that? Nah, I don't think that's the same kind of dynamic, because that's a crazy, like, 51 to newborn is crazy. That's crazy. But
that's a whole half century.
Sam being 16 or possibly 17 or however old Sam gonna be by the time I have another one.
Yeah.
That dynamic, like, say she's 20, is that the same kind of dynamic, or that's not as bad?
I don't think it's as bad.
Because say Sam have a kid and then I have a kid, then that's they aunt and niece.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, but what I'm saying is a 50-year-old, she probably has a 20
to 30-year-old, possibly 25 to
30-year-old kid that's calling a newborn their aunt or uncle.
That's fact.
You know what I mean? It's like, what are we doing here? But I get it. You want to leave, God said, be fruitful and multiply, and that's what he's doing. He's still fruitful. He's still multiplying. So
he's still multiplying. But I have that dynamic in my family, though, because my cousin, who I call my sister, Cash.
Yeah.
My cousin Brianna is Cash's aunt, but they're the same age.
Okay.
But they're the same age.
Yeah.
They're the same age. Exactly. That's why I'm saying, if Sam have a child, hopefully not too soon. Not.
Don't,
and then I have a kid. Facts. And then I have a kid. Then they're gonna be the same age, but that's gonna be aunt and niece. So it's But either way, I'm only 38. I'm still in the prime. You feel me? So I ain't worried about that.
You got a whole 40 years before you catch up with Robert De Niro.
A whole 40.
That's hope for you, I guess, if you want some more.
If I want some more later in life.
Yeah, you still got a whole
still marching, boy. Facts.
Yeah.
But anyways, what else we got going on in the world of entertainment, man? What else we got?
Well, in the world of entertainment, we got that Amari Hardwick, who played Ghost on the show Power, just mentioned recently that the show execs 50 and I think her name's Courtney Kemp wanted him to come back, but he couldn't work out a deal with Starz Network. What's your thoughts on that? How you feel? What do you think that would have did to the show if Ghost was to in fact come back?
I think it would have been big news, because everybody from what I know, and I watched a few seasons. I didn't stay up on Power like I probably should have, and I would have had a better conversation about it right now. But from what I do know, from the people who do watch Power, yourself and a couple of my friends on social media, they hated whenever Ghost left the show. So I feel like if he would have been able to get what he wanted to get from Starz, because from what I looked at a little snippet of an interview, he was like, they wanted me to come back. They called me, and I said, well, if I get that and then you give me this, then I'll be back. But they couldn't give him this,
right?
Then this. So whatever that then this was, if it was good enough for Ghost, he would have came back. But they just couldn't work anything out. I think that would have been fire. Plus, they got a couple of spinoffs about Ghost's son. They got one about Ghost's son that he could have came back on that. And then he probably could have came back in
right now.
Is it really?
It's better than what I thought it was going to be. When, not to cut you off and not to tell too much about
because you
Power.
know more anyway.
Yeah, but when Ghost, the way that they did Ghost as a character, and the way the show ended, the original Power ended, And then they moved to season 2. I'm like, man, this is not going to be the same show. But surprisingly, it's pretty good. And I won't say right now it's better than Power, but it's starting to creep up there as being better than the original, just because of all the different storylines that they have now with the different characters that they playing with it, and the development of the characters and whatnot. So I think what you are seeing with Power 2, which is called Power Book 2 Ghost,
yeah.
is you're seeing like the revamp of Power with the character dynamics that was in the original Power. You have Tommy and Ghost, you have a love interest, you have what you could see as being a wife, or that type of relationship. You have a whole another family involved. It's just crazy. But I think if he would have came back, I think that would have added more interest to the show, and definitely would have brought the some of the eyes that fell off from it when he originally died. I think it would have brought back those viewers, or people would have tried to find a way to bootleg it, whatever the case is. I think it definitely would have brought some excitement to it. And I feel like the reason he was put off the show is because of money. And I think the same thing resides with why he decided not to come back, is because of money. Because I think if you were talking about the same interview, he was saying he was not paid what he should have been paid for playing the Ghost character and for how popular the show was.
Because then they say he was getting like 150 a show, 150 episode.
Yeah. And he was like, and he was like, he should have been paid way more than that. Which I mean,
I agree.
Think about it. Nobody really watched Starz until, I can only speak for myself, and I don't know this to be fact, but nobody really watched Starz until Power was on. Because then with Power, you had all these other shows that came with it, and people just like, oh, this show is kind of interesting too. But really, at least in the Black culture, it seemed like Power was what brought people to Starz.
I agree, because it's a big rich town, right? That's what everybody wanted to see.
That's the Joe version, right? Not the Trey Songz version.
I don't know which version is which, but
wow. Okay,
because I watched it. I watched it a little bit. Like I said, I watched the first 3 seasons, but I ain't really keep up with it like I should have.
Yeah. Nah. So I asked that because 50 tried to change the original version, which is Joe, and try to slide Trey Songz in there. And that thing lasted a week, and he was back to the original.
So that's why I said, I don't know what the difference is, because I ain't really, you know what I'm saying? But it's all good though. It's all good. What's going on with these reparations in California, my boy?
My man. So
reparations in Cali?
We might have to move to Cali. Well, you're right. That's just a little hop for you. It's a hop, skip, and a jump for me. But yeah, California is proposing reparations for qualified Black residents, and they're looking to pay up to $1.2 million in reparations. What do you think about it? How you feel about this proposal for reparations?
Now, the crazy thing about that is, so I like the fact that they're trying to supplement for generations and generations of our strong ancestors, what they had to go through, right?
Yep.
I think it's amazing. Now 1.2 million is actually, from what I've researched, is actually a little off though, because
it's way off.
It's way off because it's getting into the trillions, honestly.
Yeah.
It's getting into the trillions because some people were saying it's going to cost roughly about $800 billion to pay everybody reparations. But then that doesn't compensate.
Nationwide, or is that just the state of California?
That's just California itself.
Wow.
That's just Cali. Wow. 800 billion, but that doesn't even account for like mass incarceration. What they said was going to account for 250 billion, and then they said another 565 billion for the redlining that happened in California. Okay, so like that's getting into the trillions of dollars that it's going to take for them to pay everybody in California. But you had to have lived in California for a certain amount of time, and between a certain a certain year range to be able to take advantage of a lot of these different reparations. So at one point it was saying that if you lived in California for 71 years, or if you lived between 1971 and 2020, or 1933 and 1977. So me and you, we ain't going to Cali to get reparations. But as soon as North Carolina talk about reparations, I'm collecting my 37 years, boy. I'm collecting I'm collecting my 30. I'm collecting my 36 years of reparations from them motherfuckers. Because I need that. What you got? What you think?
I mean, one, I think it's great that California is proposing this. The question that I have, and I think you kind of answered it, but it still leaves a little bit of gray area there, is what does qualified resident means? Like, okay, I understand you have to stay there for a certain amount of time. I understand that you have to maybe have a California's driver's license or some of the sort. But outside of those two factors and maybe some other factors that I didn't mention, about state law and stuff like that, what exactly does qualified Black resident mean? Because, we live in an era of anybody can identify as whatever they want to. So what does that mean? Does that mean, I've lived in California for 71 years and on year 71, I'm Black now. I'm a Black resident. I find it, that part of it is funny to me.
It is.
But, if they were to do this nationwide, it would probably be something of the sort too, because you have to, I don't think there's an easy way to determine who is Black and who is not. With the intermingling of races, with them getting rid of all of the records for slaves and whatnot, or not all of them, but a good portion of the records for slaves. I think it would be tough to do that unless you just say, your skin is this complexion. This is what you put down on your paperwork for jobs, for college, for grants and all this stuff. You're considered Black. I think it would be tough. I also think it would be a lot of nonsense, especially in Cali, that's going to go on if this is to be passed. A lot of hate that's going to happen, a lot of crime, and a lot of stunting that's going to happen. So
imagine if that shit was in Fayetteville, North Carolina.
I mean, we let's not forget the melting pot that is
LA.
Yeah, it's true. Southern California, LA. So I mean, Fayetteville, while it's not as ritzy, it doesn't have the as ritzy parts as LA with the Beverly Hills, Malibu, and all that stuff. It's a kind of a reflection of Los Angeles and all of that. So I think we would see similar things that go on in California. In Fayetteville, if that was to happen. But I think it's great. But the qualified part has me puzzled. And then I think, with the climate that we are in, or that we're heading in, as far as the scarcity of money, or what is publicized as it being scarce, I think there's a lot that could go on. A lot of hate crimes that could happen from other groups saying, well, why they get it, we don't.
Because y'all ain't never been through what do you mean? It's obvious why you won't get it. What you talking about? Like, anyway, that's getting into another segment. Anyway, let's get into the meat and potatoes, my boy. What is the topics for today?
Topics for today, we're going to talk about sports and media coverage of AD after he suffered a head injury in Game 5 of the Western Conference semifinals. We're going to talk about the NFLPA investigating a bribery of teams to select their draft pick, their clients. Also talk about Adidas and Yeezy, talking about the Adidas and Yeezy. They want to donate the proceeds from the Yeezys that they sell to charity. And then lastly, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about a YouTuber who's facing 20 years for purposefully crashing a plane.
For views. So crazy. So let's get to the first topic, my G.
Yes, sir. So prominent figures in the NBA media are receiving blowback for their mocking of Los Angeles Lakers Anthony Davis after he suffered a head injury in Game 5 of the Western Conference semifinals, and for the fact that he needed to be carted off in a wheelchair. Sticks, how do you feel about Shaq, Charles Barkley, and Stephen A. Smith's coverage of Anthony Davis and his head injuries?
I think it was. I think it was in ill taste. I think it was very much in distaste what they did as far as making fun of Anthony Davis. And now, I'm not going to say that. I've been talking about Anthony Davis, of course, off camera, off the pod, about how he's very fragile when it comes to like he's always injured. He's always injured. It's something with his back, something with his shoulder, something with his ankles, his knees. Something is always wrong with Anthony Davis. So the suspicion of the injury is warranted, so to speak, because something's always wrong with Anthony Davis. But I'm gonna back Draymond Green on this whenever he said head injuries ain't nothing to play with. I played football. D-Lo played football. I've suffered multiple concussions in my football career. I'm pretty sure Delana's had a couple, one or two, maybe.
Not that I know of, honestly.
Not that you know of. Got you.
Nah, but I've had migraines, and I know how they feel. So I can only imagine how they feel. Concussion feels.
With that being said, me knowing what a concussion feels like and actually having to go through quote unquote protocol, because protocol wasn't really around whenever me and Delon was still, not necessarily a protocol like the way it is now, but you had to go through different steps to be able to get back on that field. And I've been through a somewhat protocol back in my day whenever I played football, and concussions ain't nothing to play with, man. I mean, we've had people in the NFL, the most namely one, Junior Seau, who had CTE and took his own life because of CTE. And it's nothing to play with. I mean, I know basketball isn't as much of a contact sport as football, nowhere close to actually. But at the same time, whenever you get an elbow like he got from Kevon Looney, it was inadvertent, of course, but that makes it even worse because you don't see it coming. So it makes it worse. So it's like you got to take head injuries seriously. And of course, Shaq and Charles Barkley said they weren't laughing at, but they definitely were. But they were trying to make it sound like they were laughing at each other. But Stephen A. Smith went in on AD, and it was just an ill taste, man. And you gotta be able to take head injuries very, very seriously, because just like Draymond Green said, man, one shake in the brain or one small hit can change your life. For sure, can change your life, man. What you think, D-Lo?
I mean, I would like to utter the same sentiments you did. We all know that Anthony Davis has a reputation for being injury prone, and it has become basically a laughing matter, a thing to joke about. But you can't really, like you said, you can't really joke about head injuries, because you're right, and Draymond's right. One small head injury of any sort, you can knock something loose or disorient you enough to where it can alter your life for the rest of your life. And for them to be joking about it, and when I say them, I mean initially it was Charles and Shaq were joking about it on TV. And then, I mean, obviously all of them were joking about it on TV, but it was Charles and Shaq joking about it on TV. It was just inappropriate and distasteful. And I know I've taken a stance of being on the softer side of everything, but I can take a joke. I can joke with the best of them here and there. But when you talk about head injuries, especially with Charles and Shaq being former athletes, everything was a bit more rough and rugged back when they played, a couple years ago, 20 years ago. But things have changed. Technology has advanced, as we all know, with the introduction of AI. Athletes are bigger, faster, stronger. We've taken different scans of the brain and looked at different injuries across all sports. And usually when we talk about concussions, we're talking about football. So, with all of that being introduced and all of that being looked at within the football community, and the severity of how it's being taken in the football community for these individuals across the board now, Charles, Shaq, and Stephen A, to sit on TV and laugh about it, when I know Chuck and Shaq don't really deal with it, but for Stephen A, who covers all sports, and how he takes it when, let's say, a Tua was knocked out, and how the severity of what he wanted to have the Miami Dolphins and the coach being punished for their lack of whatever the case is. Urgency, the lack of care, their lack of acknowledgement for when Tua got hurt. To see him be that out front about it. But then to turn around and make fun of Anthony Davis is kind of like, again, selective outrage. Because I think it's more so tied to the person and not the actual event.
I was just about to say that. I'm glad you said that. I was about to touch on that too. It wasn't the fact that what happened to AD. It was because it was AD. And it seems like every week AD has a different injury. Something's wrong with him. In the games, you can see him grimacing, or he gets up off the ground, grimacing and wincing, and gets up off the floor slow, or something like that, and doesn't get down the court. Maybe might be limping every once in a while, grabbing his back. Something is always wrong with AD. I do agree with the candor that they have with his injuries. I do agree with that, because I'm one of those people that's like, he is so fragile, but have that same energy with AD's head injury that you had with Tua's, because your brain, you need your brain and your heart to live, my boy. Mm-hmm. So like, if he ain't got his brain, he's just a vegetable. What he gonna be now? Like your wrist, your ankle, your back, you can do things about that most times. But something more intrusive, you can push through that.
If it's not too bad, you can try to push through it, especially in the playoffs. And that's what Shaq was saying. Shaq was saying, but again, he was tying it to something like an ankle, like a foot, like a hand. He was saying, there's no way that I'm going to let a foot or toe injury keep me from playing in Game 6 of a playoff game. But we're talking about, like you said, we're talking about those type of injuries, of phalanges or joints. We're not talking about the brain, which can disorient you, which what we saw.
I'm sorry about laughing. This is you said phalanges. That's so funny.
Yeah,
my bad, but go ahead. Your fingers and your toes. Yeah, facts.
Your fingers and your toes, your joints and whatnot, your ligaments.
My bad. But go ahead. My fault. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. That was it, really. We're not talking about the brain in which, your cognitive ability comes from, which, you use to distinguish and realize, okay, this is going on, I need to do this. If your foot is hurting, you still have the ability to say, oh, this is going on, I need to do this. Oh, my foot is hurt, I can't do it exactly how I used to do it if I was 100%. Let me let me do this. If your brain is not functioning properly, you can't go through all of that. You just out there, really. Yeah. So
yeah. So I really just think they didn't. It was definitely in distaste, and it was definitely just targeted towards AD and how many injuries that he's had throughout the year itself. Not even talking about his career, but just since he's been with the Lakers itself, he's always had some kind of injury. So that's why they call him, they call him street clothes. That's what his nickname is, street clothes. Because he's always hurt and on the sideline in street clothes because he has some kind of injury that's keeping him out of the game. But you can't call somebody street clothes whenever you're talking about a head injury, bro. Like that is something that's way more severe and way more serious than just going out there with a broken finger. I got broken fingers. I done broke fingers before. Both of my pinkies broken, but I played through that. But if I didn't, just like the line said, if I didn't have that cognitive ability to say, oh dang, my finger's broken, I need to tape it up so I can have it, I wouldn't be able to go through that process because my head is fucked up. So we just got to make sure that, everybody, not even just the sportscasters or the announcers or the analysts, we got to make sure that everybody understands that head injuries are serious. So that way, whenever somebody does have one, we can look at it like, oh, damn, he needs some more attention. Because the wheelchair, if I'm stumbling too, put me in that wheelchair and push me out, bro, and sit me down somewhere. So I don't blame him, Anthony Davis. He is fragile. But the head injury is something different, bro. It's way different, dog.
Yeah. And not to go too deep into it and be too complex about it, but I think just the older generation or the older era basketball players, football players, whatever the case is, the older era athlete just in general feels like new age athletes are super soft and that they look for any type of way to get out of playing, especially with the type of money they're making. So, with anything that they do, where it could be a head injury or whatever the injury is, they're looking for that time to say, these dudes are soft. We paved the way for them to make the type of money that they're making. And then you have basketball players that are load managing, or, they don't want to give their all when the games are on the line and when it really counts. And I think while that is to some degree a fair assessment, I don't think you should use that as a catch-all for every injury and label every athlete as that. because there are some that do actually love the game. And we had this conversation about if 50% of the NBA actually loves to play it or not. There are some that actually love the game and will do what it takes to play and push through it all. And then there are some that won't. And those that won't, they'll continue to collect their checks, and at some point in time that check won't come in anymore, and their legacy will be whatever it was when they first came into the NBA. Whereas the ones that love it, their legacy will continue to excel. And when they're long and gone, a la Michael Jordan and potentially, LeBron James, once he finishes, their legacy will continue to be what it is and inflate as they are removed from the game.
100%, man. And I'm a LeBron fan, so I'm pulling for the Lakers. So I need AD to be out there giving me 30 and 15. But if your head hurting, boy, if you got a concussion, sit your head down.
All right, man. So apparently calling NFL teams and selling yourself is more prevalent than we initially thought. Last week, we were talking about Jalen Carter calling the Eagles. This week, we're talking about the NFLPA investigating agent David Cantor for allegedly bribing teams to select his clients in the drafts. Six, what in the world was this man thinking?
Man, he got ahead of himself is what he did. But he got ahead of himself is what he did. But this has got to be, man, I don't even want to say it's new, because this is probably something that's been going on for a while. And it was actually another agent that they actually cited in this article that I'm reading, that I read right here last night. Was this has got to be something that's been going on for a while, but this is the first time I've actually heard of agents actually bribing these organizations with gifts so they can get their players selected. But it's not far-fetched, bro, because all of these guys get a percentage. These agents get a percentage, which is usually 3%, which that's what my agent had. So 3% of what my contract amount is. So I had to get drafted, or I had to get a contract for him to get paid. So it's not far-fetched to see that these agents are trying to make sure that their clients are in the best position possible to get drafted, so that agent can get paid as well. So it's not far-fetched. So that's one of those things. But go ahead. What you about to say?
I was going to say, like, it's not far-fetched, and I understand that notion of it. But what can you offer an NFL team that is going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to pick, you said you're going to give us this, all right, we're going to pick your player when this spot comes up.
But see, I don't know if it was more so, I don't think it was more so the team itself. I think it was more so like an owner or a particular person.
Owner, bro.
So all right, so this I'm gonna tell you what I read. So Cantor, who is a longtime agent and the president of football at GSE Worldwide, allegedly contacted several teams throughout the NFL draft weekend, offering the use of vacation properties that belong to him and his wife if the team drafted one of his clients. The sources described as Cantor's actions as a form of bribery. So vacation properties may be, wedding gifts or stuff. But you're right. I know these people. I know all the people here are rich. They got everything in order that they need, right? But he has to try to. That's I'm just reading the article.
We're talking about an agent. I understand that. We're talking about an agent, right?
Compared to
even if we're talking about a general manager. A general manager, there's annual salaries can range anywhere from 1 million to 7.5 million is what I read, right? An agent, just as you mentioned earlier, they get a percentage of a player's contract. So if you're getting, I believe he has 2 clients that make over $50 million on their contracts, right? So that's a one-shot deal. Xavier Howard's one of his clients. He makes $98 million from his contract. Okay, so he gets about $5 million from that. He also has DeMarcus Lawrence. Who makes $59 million. He gets money from that. Okay, that's one time. That's not annually. You know what I mean? So he does have money. I'm not trying to say he doesn't have money, but we're talking about he's bribing people potentially, that an owner who owns a whole damn sports franchise and probably something else, how he got to buy the franchise.
True.
Right. So they have private locations that they can go to. They have property that they can go to. They have planes that they can look at. And the general managers can use the damn I shouldn't say I know, but I would imagine general managers will use some of the owners' stuff if they don't have it themselves. So, if they want to go somewhere, hey, can I use a private plane? Hey, me and my wife or me and my family were thinking of going to this area. Can we stay at your property? I'm sure that happens on an ongoing basis. And if he's not bribing those two, if he's bribing scouts, you talking to the wrong person. You was in sales. That person, the scout may have, he may have some say so in what happens, but he's not the decision maker.
He's not the decision maker. Exactly.
Yeah. So you talking to the wrong person. And I didn't mean to cut you off. And
no,
I apologize.
Nah. Like, you went off. Do your thing. Keep going off.
Yeah. Because it's just like, what are you thinking about? Like, you are risking, because if this is true and his lawyer says this will be resolved in, as quickly as possible, but it has to be some type of traction for this story for the NFLPA to even release this.
Right.
And so you're risking the money that you have been getting because you were trying to get some of your incoming rookies a contract to be selected for a team, when you would have got the bigger bag potentially when they re-up the contract later on. So you're risking a contract. You're risking getting maybe $1 million, whereas you could have gotten, as you did with Xavier Howard's contract, $5 million from being the agent of a big contract. So I just feel like, what the hell is he thinking about?
He just like the title of the episode, man. He got ahead of himself but see, my thing is this. So just like you said, so say one of the general managers doesn't have a vacation property in Turks and Caicos, and Mr. Cantor does. Like, hey, if you pick up John White, you know what I'm saying, in the 4th round or in the 3rd round, and he get this contract, you can use my Turks and Caicos vacation home whenever you want to. Now he ain't got to ask the owner to use his jet or to use his private plane or to use his private vacation home in Turks, because now he got Cantor who he can use it whenever he wants to. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it really just depends on the level of the bribery, but at the same time, and that's just alleged bribery. I'm not saying that it's what he did.
It's alleged. Yeah,
it's alleged. But if he is doing these things, then he has to be talking to the right people, because I mean, his people getting picked up, these people getting these contracts. But you are right, though. He is risking, after that first 3, 4, 5 year contract, the re-up could be better. The re-up can make you more money. So
100%.
100%. So I mean, he definitely got ahead of himself, because first of all, you shouldn't be doing this anyway, because of course you're the job. It's the job of the player, honestly, to get drafted. You're just there to represent him. His interviews are going to play a part. His combine is going to play a part. His play on the field is going to play a part. His character is going to play a part. So it's his job to get himself drafted. You're just there representing him to be able to have those connections with these organizations to put him in front of the right people to get drafted. But he has 100%. To sell himself. So, and that's just me speaking from experience. So it's like, he definitely got ahead of himself, bro. And he shouldn't. If he is doing this and offering gifts to get his people drafted, he's going about it all the way the wrong way. All the way the wrong way, bro.
I mean, listen, the articles that I read about this all mention property. And I know to get away, have your vacations, and to take your mind off of stuff is big. You reset. 100%. It's great for mental health.
It is.
But again, if we're talking about the top 2 individuals that make those decisions for who gets selected in NFL drafts, NBA drafts, you're talking to the wrong people. Property is telling you that you can use my property whenever you want to, allegedly, is not going to move me, because I can buy that myself. I have that myself. If you're talking to a scout, he has no say so. Like, I mean, he's not the one that says, ultimately pulls the trigger and says, yes, we want this guy. He can say, listen, he can try to sell it for you, but what is that doing for you? You're not talking to the right person.
Not talking to the right people.
Yeah, so I mean, I just think for this to come out how it has come out, if it is true, and if he used that piece of that asset that he had to try to get his clients drafted, he went about it the wrong way. Like, I mean, I don't think anything.
Nothing.
I don't think
There's
anything
nothing that
he offered.
Nothing he can offer.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think anything he offered would say have anybody in the NFL that's in the GM position or the owner's position to say, "Oh, absolutely, we're going to take him just because you gave us that." Hell no.
You can't even offer your firstborn child for somebody to get drafted, bro. Like, what are you trying to give these folks? Like, you really bugging, because like I think the biggest thing that would have drove eyes was the property, if he was trying to bribe somebody, because property is scarce, and especially if you got vacation property, that's a little bit better for them to go on vacations on. But what else? You can't bribe with cars. You can't get gifts. You can't do, because these people have enough money to get it themselves. Like, you can't do the property is the only thing that is of any value that they would actually go for if you're trying to bribe them. But
if you're not giving it to somebody, if you're not giving it to somebody,
you're just offering them to use it.
It's null and void. Yeah, because I mean, these cats, it's pennies to them. Like, they can say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go to whatever island that's off of
somewhere." Yeah,
and I'm going to buy this property, or I want to buy it's this. I don't know, man. I'm stammering here, but it's because my mind can't wrap around the delusion of this person, allegedly again, to use something like property. And maybe I don't know. It's just crazy, man, that this is. How do people think like this stuff won't come out? We live in a world where you see everything. Everything is transparent, and if it's not true, then it's somewhat true. It has some truth to it. It's just a different spin on it. If it's told by this media company, there's this type of spin. If it's told by this media company, it's another spin on it. But somewhere in between those spins is the truth. And so how do people think they can get away with this is the thing that I'm kind of concerned with, because everybody's telling everything to get some type of take these days. So
right, but see, even just like we were talking about in 2016, there's an agent named Ben Dogger who represented Adrian Peterson, RG3, guys like that, who was also allegedly doing the same things, and he had like a 38 count disciplinary complaint against him from the NFLPA, saying that he was doing the same things that Mr. Cantor was doing.
Okay.
But he got his license revoked for a little bit, but then it was reinstated, because this was in 2016. Right. He got his license revoked for a little bit, for a couple of months, but then it was reinstated again back in 2017. So
only a couple of months.
Yeah, so I don't know exactly when it was revoked. So it was revoked in February 2016. Okay. Around the time the draft was going on, or when people were getting ready for the draft. Say it was revoked around February and March. He got it reinstated the next year in February. So it was only revoked for a year anyway. So I don't think they take this stuff seriously in the first place, because like you said, there's nothing that any agent can offer any owner or any general manager or anybody who is an upper level in these organizations that they can't do for themselves. And if the player is going to get drafted, the player is going to get drafted off of his own ability, his own character, and his own interviews. So it has nothing to do with the agent other than you putting him in front of these right people. So just like you said, how did they figure it wasn't going to come out? And why are you doing it in the first place? Why are you getting ahead of yourself, bro? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?
Yeah. Hey, so my last question is, do you think players will no longer want to work with him now that this is out, or if it is in fact true, or will they be like, all right, man, I understand what you were trying to do. I appreciate it. Let's stop
that shit. Let's not do that.
Let's get back to work.
Nah, facts. I mean, I think from what I've read, he's a really good agent, and the people who he represent are really good athletes, and not to say the least. They're at the highest level of their careers. But I don't think he's going to lose. I mean, it really just depends on the disciplinary action at the NFLPA and the CARD Association who deals with the agents and their certifications. It really just depends on what they come down with, and how this news is actually taken from the athletes coming up from now until the future. But I don't think if he, it just really depends on the revocation of his license, honestly. But and if he can even still practice and still be an agent for these people, for these athletes. But I don't think so. I don't think he's gonna lose any clients. I don't think it's gonna hurt him much. But it really I think just like you said, a lot of these athletes are just gonna go moving forward like, hey, you get me in front of them, let me do the work. You ain't gotta worry about offering no property. You ain't gotta worry about trying to bribe these folk, because in the end of the day, it's me who's going to get this contract. So you just do the talking. Let me do that. Let me get the actions in place, and we're gonna be good. Don't even worry about giving them shit. That's what I feel like.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of in between with this one. I kind of feel like how you feel, but I also feel like the agent is the middleman in between the two.
Mm-hmm.
While it is the player's job to put the work out there that gets them the contracts that they want, and it's the agent's job to kind of make up the difference in between the two, where the organization wants to be and where the player wants to be as far as who they pay. But to some degree, the agent is also the one that keeps those relationships or creates those relationships with the organizations.
Agreed.
And if stuff like this is coming out, then that relationship could be tarnished to where nobody wants to deal with you, the agent. So since they don't want to deal with you, the agent, they don't want to deal with the player.
Agreed.
And that could mess up some contracts to where, you don't even get in the ballpark of where you want to be because they don't want to deal with you at all. So I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle with that, but
not only could it mess up contracts, it could also mess up opportunities.
Exactly.
Because like you said, if a whole organization don't want to mess with you, then say it's the Panthers and the Falcons. Now they don't want to mess with Mr. Cantor. Now that athlete doesn't even have an opportunity to play for those teams anymore. So imagine if that's half of the league. Now you only got 16 teams that you can actually, sell yourself to, when it should be 32. So I agree with what you're saying. I see where you're going with that. I see what you're going with that. But I don't think it's going to hurt them too much unless a lot of these, just like you said, unless a lot of these organizations just don't want to work with Mr. Cantor himself. So
well, we'll see. We'll see if it's even true. Apparently, like I said, his lawyer said that this should be taken care of, and it's not true, and then the truth will come out, rather quickly. So we'll see where it goes after it, if it is true, what the punishment is, and if it's not true, then shame on whoever reported this to have us talking about it.
For sure.
All right, so apparently Joe Budden was right. It's truly content over everything. YouTuber Trevor Jacob, COE. YouTuber Trevor Jacob is facing 20 years after pleading guilty to one count of destruction and concealment with the intent to obstruct justice or obstruct a federal investigation. And what that led from is he purposefully crashed an airplane for YouTube views, for views on YouTube. So Sticks, what are your thoughts on this story?
Now, if what he did, he accomplished, because the man only got 100. Well, only is that would be a lot for us, but he got 140,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
But this video, which was recorded a year ago, has 3.6 million views. So he accomplished exactly what he wanted to accomplish. But just like D-Lo alluded to, man, Joe Budden said it's content over everything. Like, everybody wants to be viral. Everybody. If you can go viral, you can make money. That's what this world is coming to now. Social media over everything, content over everything. And that's exactly what he did. Now he's facing, and I watched the video. It's a little 16-minute video. What's happening? Yeah, a little 16-minute video. And literally 3 minutes into the video, the plane crashed. But he was trying to make it seem like, oh my God, I'm losing elevation, and you could tell from watching the video. Did you watch the video?
No, I didn't even waste my time watching it, man. I'm like, when I saw the headline, I'm like, this is problematic.
Very much so. But the even crazier part was he took off and he's flying, but he already has the parachute on his back. So if it was really like he already has it strapped on, like he already has the parachute on. So you could tell he was planning something from the beginning. Like, are you getting in the plane with the parachute on? Like, what's good with you? Like, is that gonna be comfortable with you flying? Like, but if it was really like he was losing elevation, the plane was going down and he was losing gas or whatever he was trying to make it out to be, then you would have had to scramble for that. You would have had to get off the wheel of that plane, go get your parachute, put the parachute on, because it was something that actually happened that you weren't expecting. But like you said, man, content over everything, bro. You crash a plane for views, and the rest of that was just him trying to navigate through the wilderness that he parachuted into and try to get back home and finding water. It was dramatic, overly dramatic. It was an overly dramatic video, but it's definitely problematic, man, because this is just showing what people will do, will put their life on the line, will put their life in danger to get views and to go viral. So what you think, D-Lo?
I mean, I said it already. I think it's problematic. And the reason I think it's problematic is to piggyback on what you said earlier as well, is you have everybody wanting to go viral. And so more and more people are starting to put content online or create content. And more people are viewing content. It's just what we do to pass time nowadays. Mm-hmm. And as more and more content comes online, you start to see the same thing over and over and over, just a different spin on it. And so with that, the shock value to really garner attention and to keep people viewing has to go up. Mm-hmm. And that's all this is. It's like a shock value. It's like, oh, he's crashing. Oh, he actually posted this online. Let me watch the whole thing and see what happened, how he survived. And now to find out that it was actually staged, and also that a brand was going to pay him to post a video, and this was a part of it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they knew that he was going to crash a plane or not, but for that to be a part of it as well, now it's just more and more people that's going to up the ante with that shock value to get those views and to get those brands interested in paying them money to do outlandish stuff. We've already seen multiple people that are in the interview or prank genre of the world of content creation lose their lives or be severely injured. Who's to say that somebody else, it starts with crashing the plane. Who's to say it won't be next somebody staging a robbery or somebody, you know what I'm saying? Where does it stop? And is this the beginning of that? I just think, again, we talked about the the NBA media pundits laughing at AD and how that was distasteful. To me, it's distasteful because it's like the start of us going down a negative.
It's a snowball. It's a snowball effect.
It's the start of us going down the negative road of content creation. That content creation is good because it does give us some entertainment. It can take our minds off of what we're dealing with in the real world, but when you got people doing stuff like this, it's going a bit too far. Now, luckily, nobody was hurt that I know of, but if we can't shoot down a Chinese balloon over the forest of North America, why can't somebody I keep saying splash. Why can't somebody crash a plane? Why can't somebody just crash a plane in the forest of North America? So, I mean, I just think we're going down a bad route with this content creation. Ugly road.
And just like you said, man, and you answered the question I was going to ask you: is this going to be a snowball effect of worse and worse and worse content being created? And you answered the question. I think it will be, man, because like you said, people. He crashed a plane in the forest, which, like you said, allegedly nobody was hurt. Hopefully nobody was hurt. He wasn't hurt. Just a couple of nicks and bruises and things of that nature, but he wasn't hurt. But at the same time, this video got 3.8 million views. What would happen if I, like D-Lo said, stage a robbery? What happens if I, put a bunch of GoPros on my car and crash my car by accident? Like, people are putting their lives in danger, man, for content, man. And it makes absolutely no sense. Like, me and Delon are now in the content creation space, but I will not be trying to put my life in danger. I got too much to live for, dog. Like, first of all, I said I was in my prime, but I'm too old to be doing that bullshit. I ain't about to be out doing crashing cars and crashing planes and putting my health and my life in danger for content. Nah, bro. I would much rather sit in front of this camera talking to y'all and talking to D-Lo with this mic in front of me and talk about these dummies out here crashing planes and crashing cars and staging robberies. Like, nah, but it is definitely, I feel like it's going to snowball into something worse because everybody is looking for the next viral video. Everybody's looking for the next viral video. And with him doing this can set the stage for something even worse and worse and worse, man. And I don't want that to happen, but prayerfully, man, people don't look at this thing and say, yeah, I'm about to do that too. You know what I'm saying? Or some form of this crazy BS that he's doing too. So, and he has so many GoPros hooked up to this plane, bro. Like he had at least 7 or 8 GoPros hooked up to this plane on each side, on each wing. But he had about 5 of them set up on his side of the plane to catch him jumping out of the plane and acting like the plane is losing elevation and this, that, and the third. Like you could tell that this was staged. Like there was no way. If you watch the video, like I said it was 16 minutes, but it's a 12-minute video. If you watch the video, you could tell from start to finish that this was a staged video. And it makes absolutely no sense what he did. So, I mean, but content over everything. They're doing it for the money. They're doing it because they know it's going to go viral and everybody's going to watch a plane crash. Like if you can see a plane crash, you're going to watch it. Like, it's so stupid, bro. It's dumb to me.
We're also desensitized with a lot of stuff too, which is also why this could be potentially problematic. Conspiracy side of things that add complexity to it is, you have a lot of conspiracy theorists that say a lot of the stuff that goes on, a lot of the tragic events that happen in America are staged by the government. You also, we also pull out our cell phones when we see something happen to anybody. The George Floyd situation was recorded recently. A situation where a homeless person was choked out on the train in New York was recorded. And people want to. I don't say they want to watch it, but because it's readily available, we watch it. And so now that all of these type of things are going on, they're being recorded and they're being uploaded to the internet. Why can't somebody crash a plane and benefit from a brand paying for that? You know what I mean? So it's just like we're in an area right now to where it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of scared people, trying to figure out what they're going to do with their life and how they're going to continue to make money, with people losing jobs, with all these brands offering money. There's not as much as they used to, but they're still offering money. We're just in a weird time right now in the content creation space, because now it's like, what is considered content creation and what is just content that just naturally happened. And so most times the natural content, if it has that shock value to it, or if it's something that captivates you or hits any of the major senses, pulling on those heartstrings, those are the ones that get all the major views and go viral. And then you also throw the money into it. Everybody's trying to be the next Mr. Beast we talked about earlier. Everybody's trying to be that person that has 25 million subscribers on YouTube. Every video they put out within seconds has 50,000 views and whatnot, and they're making tons of money off that. They don't have to do anything. And I mean, we know that content creation is hard shit. It takes us 2-3 days to figure out what we want to talk about on the podcast. So imagine have to actually create the content, the physical content, and find that stuff. So we're just in a weird space right now, man. And I feel like at some point in time, where do we right the ship? Because we could, I'm not going to say where it's headed down the wrong way, but it's starting to tip that way just a little bit. And so where does it turn back and say, okay, this is what is considered content? But then you don't want to take, I know, not to talk too long, but then you don't want to take away, you don't want the platforms to take away your freedom to create content, because then it can get stale. It can get stale. So I don't know. This is complex in many reasons.
For many reasons, bro.
Many fronts.
Yeah, man. And I mean, it's, the way of the world is moving towards content creation anyway. With AI going crazy, and the emergence of Kick and these streaming platforms, and the way of the world is going towards content creation. Everything is going to be online. Everybody indulges in their information online. And but it's whenever it's just information, that's whenever it's safe. But when it comes to content creation like this, and stunts and pranks and niggas stage and stuff, that's whenever it becomes dangerous. And that's where that's where we got to taper it. You know what I'm saying? Is to make sure that stuff like this doesn't elevate people to do even more crazier stuff. And that's what scares me in a sense, man, because it could be people can stage a robbery and somebody can get injured, and that can be Sam out there in that area where some content creator was just trying to go viral, trying to be the next internet sensation, and my daughter is somewhere at a mall and they trying to stage a robbery, and my daughter gets hurt. And now this content creator has 4 million views, but now he's on trial for something more heinous than just trying to stage a robbery. Exactly. So it's like that's whenever other people's lives are put in danger. And they said that he was obstructing a federal investigation. How did he do that? I didn't know. I nothing said what investigation he was obstructing, or I don't think they would have said it anyway. But how did he do that? Just crashing. What was it then?
So the obstruction came from when he crashed the plane. The FAA went to go and try to figure out, what happened to the plane and all that. Well, him and his homeboy went to the location and cleaned up. Basically, and cleaned it up, chopped up the plane, removed it, chopped it up, and basically got rid of everything. So that was the obstruction of the investigation.
Oh, okay, so that's what it was. Okay,
and that's why they
were saying he was obstructing another investigation. Okay, I got you.
That's why he's
so they were
facing
just
up to 20 years.
investigating what happened to the plane that he obstructed. Okay, I got you. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they did say that. They did say that. Okay.
Yeah. So because more than likely, if they'd have actually found a plane, like, oh, there's nothing wrong with this plane. And then, I don't know if he would have gotten more trouble with it being, nothing wrong when he just deliberately crashed the plane. Because, I don't think you don't get in trouble when you deliberately crash a car. You just pay the insurance, right? Like if it's not hurting anybody, do you get more? I've never been in too many crashes.
From what I know, being in the car business, if you intentionally crash your car and then you're trying to gain money from it, that's insurance fraud. But yeah. But I don't think he would have gotten. The type of plane that he was flying, it wasn't anything that was going to
single engine plane, right?
It was a single engine plane, so it wasn't going to be anything that was going to cause any major damage if it was crashed anyway. But he probably could have gotten some more time if they would have. But all he had to do was come clean, which is what he's doing anyway. He's going to plead guilty. He's just doing it for views. If he would have just told the investigators, "Hey man, I honestly just do this for my YouTube page," like that's all he would have had to say, and then he would have. But maybe he would have got more time. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. But what I will say, and how I'll wrap this up is I don't believe a lot of stuff that goes on the internet anyway.
Me either.
I second and third guess it before I even. When we talk about what we want to talk about, we like, is this real?
Do we want to
talk about this? Usually, we are late to talk about stuff because we want to make sure that it's real. And we get a lot of gripe about that, but it is what it is, because you can't really trust everything that's out there right now. Like we could be talking about this in the last 3 segments that we talked about, or 2, and none of it is real. And then it's like egg on our face. So all of these people creating content, stage content, you have the gold digger thing and all that stuff, the genre. It's hard to believe anything that you put out or anything that's out in the news because of all of this staged activity. And we can talk about this. We can go on and on about this because there's a lot of stuff that deals with
it's real complex.
This stage material and how brands interact with people that we could talk about and incorporate into this segment. But not to go too long into it, so I'll just end it right there and say it's hard to believe anything that happens when you have all of this stage activity and content out there.
Exactly, bro. I'm with you on that one for sure.
All right, so it seems like Adidas is planning to sell their Yeezy inventory and then donate the proceeds to charity. The ongoing saga of Adidas and Yeezy. And yay. So Sticks, this is another turn in the saga with Adidas. How you feel about this decision of Adidas to sell the product of the Yeezys and then donate?
They need to figure something out for real, because I'm getting tired of Adidas going back and forth with Ye, man, because first you drop them, then you bring them back on to try to help you sell the 500 million of stock that you have or inventory that you have. And now you're saying, okay, well, we can't offer the stock, so we're going to sell we're gonna sell a portion of it and donate it to charity. And some of those charities are the ones that took a little bit of a hit from Kanye's controversial statements that he made last year and the year before, or earlier this year and last year. So it's like, make a decision. What you gonna do? Now they talking about they was gonna burn it, but the CEO was like, nah, that's not the best way to do that. So they're just gonna, they're supposed to take another hit in the stock. So they're supposed to lose another 1.5 billion this year. So they need to figure out what they're gonna do with this stock, and they need to figure out how they're gonna compensate Ye for it too, because you just can't give all of the proceeds to charity. You got to figure out how you're gonna compensate Ye too. So they need to figure something out, man, because this is getting to a point where it's getting to be a dead horse that we're beating here. But it's interesting. It's interesting content here, because how you gonna do that whenever you have to pay Ye? So it's deep, man. What you think about it, bro?
I mean, I feel like here we go again. If I could do the DMX voice, I would do it.
But here we go. I ain't gonna try to.
Yeah, see, exactly. That's why I didn't even try to do it. But it would be so appropriate. It would be so appropriate for this topic, because like they go back and forth with what they want to do with the inventory that they had left over from the backlash of Yeezy. Well, it was a backlash per se, but it was not a backlash for Adidas and the Yeezy brand. It was him specifically, because as we mentioned, right after this happened, StockX, which is the stock market for shoes, considered the Yeezys were like skyrocketing. So I would imagine people would have still purchased those Yeezys. And it's apparent that Adidas made a bad business mistake by cutting ties with Ye so early without really thinking through the consequence, because now they're like in the trenches on a daily basis trying to figure out what do they do with this inventory. How do they, at least recoup some of the money that they lost? How much do they say that they are going to lose? Now, how much money do I give to Kanye because we brought him back? How much money is it for him? It's just crazy, man. It's like they're continually left with egg on their face, and it's showing to me how bad sometimes, you always want to be quick with your decisions, but how if you don't really think through the consequences and the ramifications of a decision you make, how bad it can make you look in the long run. And I feel like right now they're looking bad, and they feel like they're going to come out of this. We're in a era where a lot of things are changing. And a lot of companies that were long-standing brands are starting to die off. They could be in that, and I hope not. I don't wear Adidas, but I don't want any type of brands that we know to die off just like that. But they could be one of those companies that just they're gone tomorrow because they died off for making a bad decision in a time of turmoil.
Nah, for sure. I don't think Adidas is going to die off though, because they still got a bunch of athletes that they can turn to as far as being able to sell basketball sneakers at least. As far as
they're not easy.
They're not. That's what I was just about to say. But as far as the Yeezy brand itself and that cultural impression that Yeezy and Ye made on the on the sneaker game itself, they don't have that kind of pull, right? So, but I mean, did Ye deserve to be dropped? Most people will say yeah, because he was going wild for a minute. Talking about, all the anti-Semitic things he was saying, and talking about how skinheads and Nazis are his greatest inspiration. And there's a lot of stuff that he was saying that was real crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like he was saying that he was so confident in himself that he can say these things and they can't drop him, and then got dropped. So
I would argue, and I think a lot of people would also argue, is they stuck by him when he was saying slavery was a choice and all 100%, this stuff.
Exactly.
Black people. But then when he says something about Jewish and Nazis and stuff like that, now it's time to drop him. So I mean, again, selective outrage. I think that's the term for this year. Selective outrage.
I think that is the term for this year. I think that term is going to go. Chris Rock did something with that, because that term is going to go far for years to come, because there is a selective outrage about everything. And this right here, like you said, they pick and chose whenever they stood behind Ye and whenever they didn't want to support him anymore. Right. And the anti-Semitic thing is what really pushed Adidas over the edge to drop him. But now I just don't like the back and forth that they're doing with Kanye. I don't like the back and forth. Like
it's not affecting him.
I mean, technically, yeah. He lost his billionaire status because this was one of his biggest brands that he was helping. So it affected him in a sense, but at the same time, it's like it's not affecting him as much as it's affecting over time. It's affecting Adidas way more than it's affecting Kanye.
There you go.
Way
that's what I was
more.
Trying to say.
Yeah. Over time, it's affecting them more. And I mean, I don't think they're going to die down, because I mean, like you said, this is one of the brands that we grew up with. Like, if it wasn't Nike, it was Adidas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or if it wasn't Adidas, it was Converse. So I mean. It's one of those things where they're losing traction for sure, because Puma's coming up. You know what I'm saying? So they're signing a lot of basketball players that's making a big impact on the brand and the culture itself. But I just want to know, like, what does the back and forth do for them? Like, they thought about burning. Now they want to donate to charity. Like, you have $500 million in inventory. Like, what are you going to do with it? Like, how are you going to get it off if you're not having Kanye promote it for you and have him help you sell this product? Like, how are you going to get it off, though?
Yeah. So I don't think he's going to be promoting it. I just think they now have the ability to sell it, because, all of that comes from when he was the lead or the ambassador for that line. I mean, I know it's his name, but it's under Adidas, so he's going to be the ambassador for it. So I that's why I said I don't think it hurts him. Yes, it did take away his billionaire status, but he still gets kickback from it now. Whereas if they were to burn it, he gets nothing, and he's no longer a billionaire as well. So it's like a double whammy for him. But I think this only helps him because, as we said multiple episodes ago, he's been out the way, so to speak. You haven't really heard much from him, and people are kind of, I don't want to say they've forgotten about what he's done, but it's not so much he's in the news for saying outlandish stuff, so it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. But Adidas keeps bringing him up. And now people are like, listen, why y'all keep bringing this man up? If you make up your mind what you're going to do, and then just do it. And so, but my question is, they'll be donating, right? All right, they'll be donating. But what does that really mean? Because no business that's for profit is going to just donate proceeds to anything that they sell just off of a whim, just because they want to be a good Samaritan. I haven't seen that. I mean, I know some of the companies that I've worked for, they got this 1% plan where they donate 1% of their proceeds and their earnings to charity.
A charity of their choice. Yeah.
1%. You talking about almost $1 billion that you're going to donate? Come on now.
Facts. But I mean, I think all that stuff for any company, if you donate anything to charity, it's going to be a tax write-off. You're going to get that money right back. And I think we're not going to get all of it back, but they're going to get some of it back. But I think what's really motivating them to do this, because just holding on to the inventory itself is hurting them more than it's helping them. So they have to figure out a way to off that product, and giving it to charity, like, selling it or giving it away to charity and having, doing whatever they're going to do with the proceeds. Well, selling it and giving the proceeds to charity is helping them more than hurt, because they get off some of the product, and the money that they donate, they get a percentage back whenever tax time rolls around. So it's gonna help offset some of that 1.5 billion that they're gonna lose, that they're projecting to lose. It's gonna help to offset some of that. I'm not sure how much it's gonna help to offset, but it's gonna offset some of it, so that way they can get some money back for still holding on to this inventory. But if you're only selling, if you got 500 million in inventory that you have still with you, and you only selling and donating half of the proceeds, then you still got 250 million that you're still holding on to. So what you gonna do with that now? Like, they just need to figure it out, because I think they, just like we've been talking about the theme of this episode, they got ahead of themselves when they let them go, got ahead of themselves again when they brought them back, and now they're ahead of themselves again now, because they have no idea what to do with this product. They have absolutely no idea what to do with it.
I think they also got ahead of themselves when they trying to get ahead of everything when they said that they expect to lose $1.3 billion last year, and then their stock immediately dropped. And they probably, I know you want to be forthright you have to be forthright as a publicly traded company, but if you still have the inventory to make up at least 3/4 of that, but you're already going into it saying, well, we're not going to sell it. What you think people are going to say? Oh, you're not going to sell it? Oh, well, I'm selling your stock until you can figure out how you're going to make up this $1.3 billion.
100%.
So, yeah, I feel like whoever is the head of that company, they have a lot of soul searching to do. And I'm sure stuff keeps them up at night. I'm sure this whole ordeal with Kanye keeps them up at night. I'm sure that they are cautious with the deals that they get into with athletes and entertainers now, whatever, because they also lost money with Beyonce. That's another entertainer kind of in the same circle. Not so much, but they used to roll in the same circles that they got into a deal with, and they lost not as much money as Kanye, but they lost $200 million. So I'm sure they're real cautious with who they decide to get involved with now, who they will get involved with going forward. But if I was an entertainer or an athlete, I wouldn't even want to get involved with them unless they were signing big checks for me, because it doesn't seem like they are in the right headspace or the right place right now to handle all of these, either backlash or handle these type of personalities and what they have. And Adidas clean cut for the most part, so maybe somebody like a Kanye was not who they needed to be partnered with anyway. And I mean, I know Kanye was trying to get back at Nike, but maybe he should have stayed with Nike.
Maybe. But Nike would have dropped them faster than Adidas did. So I mean, maybe not. Maybe not.
Think so.
But I mean, maybe not. But I mean, at the same time, it's like he's been with Adidas for. How long he been with Adidas now? I might have to look it up. But
for quite some time.
He's been with them for quite some time. It's had to be at least 7 to 10 years at this point.
Yeah.
And for the first 6 to 9 of those years, depending on how long he's been with them, everything's been cool.
Right.
But then over the past years, when he started really wilding out, I mean, he actually kind of went crazy whenever his mom passed. He started doing a lot of crazy stuff. But as far as him being super duper public with what he thought and what he was saying, that's whenever all of the backlash started coming out. It's been over the past 2 years. I think he made that slavery was a choice comment like 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago.
It was 2000. I think it was 2016. 2000. It was around an election time, so it might have been like 2018.
You're right. 2018, 19. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
but I mean, it just they need to figure something out, man. Like you said, they're not in the right headspace to handle maybe like bigger stars like the Ye's and like the Beyoncés of the world. Because of the controversy that might come, because of the attention that surrounds them and what they might say come off as controversial, and then now you got to make a decision on whether or not you want to still keep them. But
yeah,
shit, Adidas, come holler at Too Complex. We ain't saying nothing crazy.
I think Adidas' real issue is that they spend all of this money with these entertainers, with these athletes, but they don't put the marketing behind it.
I agree.
So like Kanye, his shoe with Nike was well received. And then because Nike wouldn't offer him a type of contract he wanted, then he moved to Adidas. Well, that hype came over from Nike to Adidas. And so, it just kept building and building and building with the different types of, was shoe silhouettes that came out. And so it's like, they never really put that brand, that marketing behind Ye. It was Ye doing all of it with the records he sell, or with the dropping of, with the different antics that he was doing in videos, in award shows, going to Paris, doing this and that. And so I think the real root cause of their issue is they put so much money into Kanye, but they were not putting marketing dollars behind Kanye. And so, and then therefore they weren't really putting marketing dollars around any of their
Yeezy.
athletes. I think they tried. Yeah, I think they tried to do it in maybe 2016, 2018 when they got these young crop of players that came in, but they didn't sustain it. And so from there they solely relied on Yeezy to carry the brand, but their actual athletic brands were lacking, other than their deals with the colleges and whatnot. But
I think they put more. They do have a lot to do. I think they put more marketing behind athletes than they did entertainers. Because before we talked about Ye the last time and how they gave him the $500 million, where they were trying to get him to help them sell off the $500 million inventory that they had. I didn't even know Beyonce had a line with Adidas. I had no idea until I started doing my research. No idea that she had a line with them. So I mean, they put way more advertising behind their athletes, like the D Roses when he was on top of his game, when he had his shoe.
But how much did they really put behind him, though?
Maybe 1 or 2 commercials, but it wasn't crazy. But at least they did that. They didn't do none of that for Kanye or Beyonce. Even James Harden, even your Dame Lillards of the world, they did a little bit of advertising for them. But
how much did they actually put behind is what I'm saying. Because let's think about it. When you think about Nike, Nike doesn't really put a lot of stock behind athletes that they have on their own shoes like that. But they put a lot of stock in marketing, right? So what's their slogan? Just do it. What is Adidas slogan? Nobody knows what Adidas slogan is. Exactly.
I don't think they have one.
Exactly. When LeBron broke Kareem's record, 5 minutes later, they have a whole 5-minute long commercial for LeBron. When Jordan, you know what I mean? So I just don't think they do a great job in marketing their stuff. And so that's why when Ye went down, so did the stock, because they had that other line those other line of shoes that they have. They're not doing that well because nobody's buying them.
Very true.
Nobody knows about them.
That's true. I mean, they don't necessarily have a slogan. They don't necessarily have much marketing that they do, because Nike is such a freaking powerhouse, bro. Like nobody's any competition for them, but they still have to at least go into the fight and try to battle with the motherfuckers and do some kind of advertising. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
exactly. But that's my point. You don't know the slogan of Adidas. I bet you know the slogan of Under Armour, though.
I don't actually.
You don't?
No.
Protect this house.
Protect this house. Protect.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you know that slogan.
Yeah. Facts.
You notice. So they have to do better with the vision of the company. I don't think they actually had a vision. I think they think or assumed, well, Nike has, and not to get too complex with this, but I think they had a vision of, well, Nike is dominating on the athletic front with Jordan, with all of these other athletic shoes. Let us try to go into the lifestyle brand part of everything. Bring in these entertainers. We don't have to do much marketing, and they're going to get us his money. Kanye with his shoes and his brands. Beyonce with the Beehive, they going to buy it just because they love Beyonce. We don't have to do anything. It don't work like that
at all. It don't, man. I mean, they need to figure something out, man. I mean, I think my last point on this would be, man, like, moving forward, they need to figure out. They, like you said, they have a lot of soul searching to do. They have a lot of soul searching to do moving forward with the entertainers that they bring on, with the entertainers in the arena, lifestyle, sports, whatever. They need to figure out how they're going to manage and advertise these guys, and they need to figure out what these people's character is, because of course Beyonce is who she is. She ain't got no controversy surrounding her that I know of. But whenever there is conspiracies and all that, but whenever somebody like a Kanye is loud and out in the open with his theories and his ideologies, you got to figure out exactly how you're gonna manage that. And it just this $500 million that they got, depending on what they do with it, man, I mean, they're gonna have to figure something out, because I'm getting tired of the back and forth myself.
Yeah, I think everybody's starting to get tired of that.
For sure.
All right, Sticks, episode 25. This is 25, right?
This is episode 25, my boy.
25, done, man. This has been a crazy show. Don't get ahead of yourself.
Don't get ahead. Why? Don't get ahead of yourself, folks. Don't
get ahead of yourself.
Don't do it.
So this has been Too Complex. We hope you enjoyed today's show. You can find us on all of your major podcast streaming services. Make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. You can also follow us on all of the social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And finally, remember, if it ain't too complex, it ain't complex at all. We appreciate y'all's support. And until next time, salute.